everyone, and welcome to Backstage Pass. I'm your host, Samantha Powell, and we're filming and broadcasting live from InfoComm 2025 here in Orlando, Florida. I'm so happy to be joined by our wonderful guests. We've got Dave Labuskes, our wonderful CEO of AVIXA, as well as Jason Moss, Senior Vice President of Marketing and Ecosystems with QSC. So thank you guys so much for joining me here on the last day of InfoComm. How are you holding up?
Going in on adrenaline. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. How about you, Dave?
I live on the energy here.
Yeah.
I love it. I love being around people. By Monday, I'll be in a coma.
Yeah, sounds
but
good.
right now, I am still high as a kite.
Good. Energy and Red Bull. I think that's how it works for me. So, yes, as I mentioned, we're here on the last day of the show. There's still so many people here, things to do and see, and there's just the show just keeps getting bigger and better every single year, right? We have over 800 exhibitors, education sessions, over 300 of those, so many, tours and things to see. Can you just each share what some of those highlights were for you of this year's show? Jason, if you want to go first.
Yeah, so this is I think the first time I came to InfoComm was 2017. And I was at Logitech at the time, and I was like trying to wrap my mind around the AV industry because I really wasn't a professional in this area, but it was just amazing the amount of experience, and it was overwhelming. And so over the course of time, I've seen kind of just the short evolution in those 8 years of the people just continue to work on that experience. And what has been super cool is that I've seen a lot more from those first days when I first got here of just, here's kind of the product, the new features and things. But really the vendors and the people that are here taking people through the experience and really talking about those outcomes that they're gauging. And that trend has just been super cool and infectious. And it makes this a much more vibrant place where people want to come be at and really engage with everyone. So that's been an interesting trend I've seen.
Definitely.
It's funny. So one of the things I make a point of, I get here typically on Sunday afternoon. So the floor is about maybe a third of the way built at that point. But I always want to get out there and see it. It's just like it's like being out on Christmas Eve and watching, the toys getting put together and the bike is in pieces on the floor kind of thing. And what struck me was there was so much empty space. And I was looking around and I was confused. I was like, what's happening here? And then I realized, actually, when I came back on the floor on Wednesday and it was done, carpet's down, everything's there, building on that, it's more about experience. So much more of the floor space is open and being used as lounge space, as meeting space. It used to be shelves of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And barriers around the stand area. But if you just walk anywhere on the floor at this point, and there's open spaces, and it's this recognition that it's about connecting with people at this show. The ability to communicate about specific product has advanced so effectively outside of the event. Now, don't get me wrong, you can't listen to a loudspeaker unless you're online.
Yeah.
You can't judge a display online, but it's more about the people than it used to be.
Absolutely. It's everything coming together to create that experience. Yeah. It's a really great transition.
Absolutely. Yeah. Connectivity is key. And it's really great to see all those different spaces that everybody can come and connect and share stories and network. That's, one of the reasons why we come to InfoComm. And there's just so many conversations. And in terms of one of the trends and things that we're hearing a lot about is cross convergence. I feel like that's next to AI. I feel like convergence is
I'm sure at some point
term.
we'll get AI too.
Yeah, exactly. And so right now we're seeing a huge cross-pollination between industries and AV, right? AV intersecting with IT, broadcast, and live events more than ever. So how do you think this convergence is really shaping how we define what AV really is and what it can mean and be in the future?
Yeah, so I'll talk about it a little bit from what I've been seeing in kind of more the enterprise space, because I think it's illustrative of a lot of trends are happening in the other industries. As things have evolved since the pandemic, a lot of people tried a lot of different things, remote work, hybrid work, bringing people. Now we're returning back to the office. We're trying all sorts of different things, but nobody really knows how well it worked, right? We tried a lot of stuff, but we don't know the measurements. Well, did it work? Are people happy? Are we getting full utilization out of our investments and our technology? And so one of the things that people are kind of demanding more is they want to understand the performance of their spaces. So they want to make sure their workplace is high performing, or your hospitality or your venue or anything like that. So you need a lot more data about that physical space. But if you start talking about data, you're really talking about an IT practice. Mm-hmm. But then if you're talking about physical space, then you're talking about facilities and how the buildings operate and move around. So you have all the stuff coming from the physical facilities and building management systems and access control and HVAC and lighting that are becoming more and more important, where you want to understand it better. But then you need to put it into an IT framework that all the IT and the CIO could measure and look at and try and get from insights to action. But then it doesn't come together unless you deliver a good experience. And that's where AV comes in. And so I think AV has a really important role, or can really take center stage in the future of these convergence, to not just ask for a seat at the table, but to bring everybody together at the table. Because end of the day, it's all about the people and the experience you deliver. But if we can, as an industry, start to really take a lead with those facilities, but then also take a lead with making sure our solutions are IT friendly, we can be at that intersection.
Dave, do you have any thoughts on that as well?
None whatsoever.
Didn't think so.
No. Yeah, I agree with everything he just said. I approach it a little bit and hear I think, a slightly different question when you ask it, because of my role as the lead of an industry association. I sort of focus in on more about, well, how do you define that industry that you are an industry association of? And maybe this is just a rationalization, but I don't think you really have to define the industry that tightly in order to be relevant and meaningful and bring value. I think there's a core part of the industry that's been unquestioned, and it's been unquestioned since caveman days, and that is connecting people to people with technology. Whether that technology is flint and steel and building a fire that people gather around and tell stories, or light up a drawing on a cave wall, or whether or not that technology is the Sphere in Las Vegas or a sports stadium in Barcelona. It's about connecting people to people with technology. So, but then beyond that, it's like connecting people to people with technology to what end is where I think you were heading. And I think to what end is almost unnecessary to define and overly limiting if, in fact, we do define it. What if AVIXA had been started in 1939 as the Movie Projector Association, which is essentially what it was? It was a group of people that sold projectors, and they were trying to sell them to the education marketplace. And so they decided, let's get together and demonstrate the value of visual technology in the classroom. Little thing called World War II broke out, and primary buyer became a little different. But if they had defined it or allowed that definition to live on forever as Movie Projector Association, I don't think we'd have InfoComm. I think that definition is going to change. And that gets to your question about convergence, and that what used to be IT and defined separately and easily visibly different from AV is no longer. There is some IT that is very clearly not AV, but not that much. And I guess there are some AV that doesn't rely on network signals somewhere, but not that much at this point. Broadcast was very clearly broadcast. Well, we had a little pandemic. Suddenly people realized that a $27 webcam on their laptop maybe wasn't the best way to position yourself for a shareholders call. And you have executives starting to look for enterprise broadcasts and look at the broadcasts that are being done and everything else that is being done at a level of broadcast professionalism. And that's all being purchased by people that never purchased this stuff before. And so the sellers are needing to be taught a new language. So it is technology, but in the end, what it is connecting buyers to sellers. So you can call AV facilities gear if it's being bought by a facilities manager.
Very true.
It's a building system if the facilities person is buying it. And if it's room signage, right, is it digital signage or is it building information system? It's certainly going to be tied into the building information system. So I think, which then takes me to the purely capitalist, and then I'll stop talking.
Oh, no, we love it when you talk. Keep going, Dave.
Purely capitalist interpretation, which is, art is in the eye of the beholder. AV is in the account of the buyer. Whatever the buyer calls AV, that's what we should be defining as AV.
Yeah. It's a great perspective on it. It really is that connecting of people and, making sure we're not creating those artificial boundaries by, the org charts that we deal with and just talking about connecting people. And it's really up-leveling right now. Everybody, like you said, the $27 webcam isn't good enough. Holding the phone like this and trying to do it, it's good in certain situations. Quick, fast information out there, but more organizations and more people are expecting more and more out of their investment, the up level of quality, because they want those human connections to be so great and be able to communicate themselves and their message to their audiences. And it's a great role that we can play. And I really love that idea of just making sure we don't create those artificial barriers for ourselves.
Yeah, it probably goes back to my purely capitalist days of I don't want to limit the customer base.
Absolutely.
Let me have as broad
Neither do I.
as I can get, right?
Yeah.
And if I can tell a story that brings and demonstrates how this is a solution for your problem or your need, then I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And we definitely love that, yes, this technology is becoming more affordable and, as we're saying, more accessible. So people who don't necessarily have that information and knowledge, like they're able to access it and use it. And then, let's say the younger generations and those content creators, they're able to manipulate it in ways that we may not have even thought about and leading us into new technology. And so it's wonderful to have InfoComm where those connections and conversations can happen. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the trends and technology shifts that we're seeing. So we know AI, our word, broadcast AV, and the convergence of AV and IT. These technologies obviously are continuing to evolve, and it's becoming more immersive, flexible, and intelligent. Just speak a little bit about how you're seeing these shifts changing the way that people are collaborating in spaces where they eat, they play, they work, and what role does InfoComm have in that shift, in this growing evolution?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if we've hit our AI quota yet, and how many times we mentioned it. So.
Not in this quick podcast yet. We have time though.
Throw a couple more AIs in there just to make sure we're not getting in trouble for not mentioning AI enough.
We don't want to lose the audience. So.
One of the interesting things, last year, AI just hit every industry in the world with like an explosion, and there was kind of AI everywhere. I like what we've done as an industry this year, where we've gotten more nuance, and it's just not AI for AI's sake, but what's the outcome?
Absolutely.
What can it actually do for you and deliver? And then it's kind of, we got very excited about AI, but you have to go back to kind of the first principles, and you can't have AI without good data, right? Garbage in, garbage out, right? If you don't have the right information about your spaces and what you're doing, the best AI in the world is not going to be that good. And so having a better conversation, which I've seen here as one of the trends, about how do we get the right data and not be siloed with all that different thing? Well, I have this space over here, or I'm doing this broadcast over here, but I'm doing a video conference here in that same space, and like all these, or the different, example you gave about signage, is that corporate signage? Is it building information? We've created all these different silos. And I think the conversation this year is because we all see the power of what AI can do for us, we're now all figuring out that we need to start sharing and making the data sets more common so we don't have these silos, and so we can leverage the power of not just AI, but just bringing the experience together, because they shouldn't be disconnected into those silos.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the big trend, and we've gotten much smarter a year later about what it's actually going to take to make that happen.
Yeah, just absolutely. AI has the potential to be incredibly disruptive. But I just had a group of visionaries on a keynote panel this week, and we talked, because if we don't talk about AI at a session this week, that's what the security is here for, and we're escorted out of the building.
People get jittery.
But we really, it's the same theme where last year it was AI everything. Look, this is an AI chair. This chair has AI. It'll adjust automatically. All you have to do is touch this button, and we've matured fairly rapidly, and should take some pride in that, pat ourselves on the back, to recognize that targeted use and iterative application is likely the most pragmatic, practical, and capitalistic way of leveraging this capability. I think, so this is another one of those where I kind of look at the longer arc of things and the bigger arc of things as I look at this. And here's my age. I'm long enough that I was doing technology design in buildings when we were converging telephony and IT. And you used to have a telephone room in the building and an IT room in the building. They actually had these things called PBXs that you plugged these things called hardwire telephones to, and they were automated switches that moved telephony from point A to point B completely and separately on different hardware from computer technology. And I'm designing buildings in that environment, but the buildings are going to take 3 to 5 years to get built. And I'm like, you want backup generators, you want extra air conditioning, you want security systems and monitoring for both these rooms? Why don't we just make one bigger room and put them both in it, and then I only have to do one emergency generator line, et cetera, et cetera. Can't do that, Dave. Those IT people are not allowed anywhere near that PBX, and the phone people aren't anywhere. So you know how I solved the problem? I solved the problem by putting them in one big room, and I put a fence, like an open chicken wire fence, down the middle of the room. It allowed the air to move. I could still supply power to both sides of the room, but the people had 2 different doors, and they weren't allowed access. So from that, I kind of pulled this thing, like it was very clear that the technology had already converged, and the capability had already converged, but the people had not converged. And that gets to what's really holding up this building systems data being utilized by the lighting systems, being managed by the facility campus director, feeding then into an LLM-trained database that can identify which portions of the building can most effectively be used during what time of the day. Until Mary Jane and Joe work together. Yeah. And I think what's different is that the layer used to be technology to people. Now I think it's probably technology to data to people. Like, you also have to get that data right. And then the people. But I don't think just solving the data problem is going to do it. It's going to have to be, and that's maybe I'm biased about the association role, but I see that as one of our key roles, is building this hub, building this community, being the first stop for knowledge in these areas, and being able to make connections. It's why we spend time with other associations they're precisely focused on Mary Jane rather than Joe.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we can do as an industry to bring together that people problem you talked about of getting Mary Jane and Joe together is articulate a vision of what they get out of it. Like, what's in it for me? Like, what's the outcome that if you do bring these things together, am I saving costs? Am I delivering a better experience? There's all sorts of different things. But we haven't done the best job yet of saying, well, what is in it for me? All right, giving them and solving those problems. So I think that's, hopefully when we're sitting here a year from now, we've done a better job of being able to articulate why you want to do it and make people feel good about it.
If we haven't, then it won't have advanced as far as it needs to yet, right?
Absolutely.
I remember talking to somebody, and he was like, "Well, if I let the engineering department design my products, I'll have a propane gas grill that works underwater. Like, it'll be really cool and solve all kinds of technology problems, but of absolutely no use to anybody."
Yeah.
And at the same time, what happens if you let marketing define your product? And so this connection of what is the need of the customer, what is the problem that we are solving, or the pain that we are eliminating, or the joy that we are creating. Until you answer that question, the technology and the implementation doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I think that's something we're good at in this industry. If we want to take something from, what we would do in a venue or a theme park, like those facilities or places get really, really hyper-focused on delivering that joy. But then they're also measuring that performance.
Yep.
Right? Like I'm staying here next week. Kids are coming in. We're going to do some of the theme park things.
Yes.
It is not an inexpensive proposition. But those theme parks know that they need to deliver on it. There's, families save their money to go and show up. And so they got to deliver on that experience. They got to deliver on that performance. They got to have repeat customers and things like that. And if you take that from the entertainment part of our industry and really apply it into more of the enterprise and other business parts of our industry, we're going to be a step ahead of the game because we do know how to do it. We just need to transfer that same kind of energy and knowledge and problem solving to more parts that we touch.
No, absolutely, yes. And I love, these are these opportunities that we can have these discussions about how we can bridge those gaps. We could sit here and talk all day about this. I wonder how much longer time we can extend this to. But unfortunately, InfoComm is coming to an end, and it's been such an amazing week. And I just want to take this moment just to ask each of you, what are you looking forward to in the future and the future of AV? Like, what excites you most about our industry? And what do you hope the audience and our attendees and those people who are watching at home, what do you hope that they take away from this event and what we're doing here in the industry at InfoComm?
Yeah, I said it a little earlier. I really do think that this is AV's time, right? And not to confine us to just AV, but we're experienced people. We're here to connect people, to Dave's earlier point, and we can have a bigger seat at the table or invent the table or bring people to the table, create new tables, right? We have a tremendous opportunity because it is all about connecting people and bringing people together. And, to kind of take a step back, we were just talking before we got on the podcast, and they were so complimentary of all the amazing work that everybody here on the AVIXA team does to pull this together.
Don't tell them that.
Thank you. No, I would like to hear. Say more.
But I got to say it about my own team, too. Like, the amazing work that they've done on the q-sys booth and the effort that they go through to put, like, an experience together is absolutely amazing. But it's a common thread in our industry that we're all show people. We're here to put on a show. We're here to make people happy. We're here to deliver excellence. And because we have that drive and the show must go on, it's a really pervasive vibe in the industry. And if we can take that and just make it even bigger as we connect with more folks.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a passionate group. Dave, anything for you?
Yeah, I start to get kind of sentimental and emotional on Fridays at events. Always like, wow, I mean, we just worked a year and a half to put that off. And I am very proud of all of my team for what they've created here. the thing that I'm really sort of drawing, and we do a lot of attendee marketing, of course, right? And one of the things that always is used shamelessly is FOMO. Like, I don't want to miss InfoComm because we want to get you there, right? We want to get people through the door. And we talk about, do you really want to see all these people having fun at this party and not be a part of that party? Do you want to miss out on seeing this gear? When's the last time you saw your friends face to face? One of the things we don't talk about, which may be very much at the core of what aligns all of those pieces with the fundamental thing you are missing out on if you don't come, is being a part of the future of AV. It is nurtured and in many cases born here at the InfoComm show. And if you're not here, you watch all the videos you want, and they're great, particularly the AVIXA TV Studios videos.
I have to agree with him, sorry.
But you won't have been a part of creating the future. And I don't mean that as a tagline. I think it's true. I was talking to Jotin and Acuity, and you guys met here. Other acquisitions that have been done, mergers, acquisitions, have taken place because two companies exhibited across the hall or across the aisle from each other. I think I reflect on the fact that this is a glimpse of and an influencer on the future of our industry, and that's what you're missing out on. So don't miss out on it in 26.
No, don't miss out.
You messed it up for 25. You didn't get here. That's who I'm talking to.
Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby, 2026. And by the way, it is Vegas, and then it's Orlando in 2027,
Oh, my
whatever
goodness.
anybody has heard.
I have been getting all of those
I know.
They're trying to put us up on camera and ask. Yeah, so I'm
Well,
glad
there's
that
the
you
answer.
cleared that. Before even InfoComm next year, I know, Dave, you're going to be doing some travel. Isn't there some other upcoming events
Oh,
that
yeah,
you
you
may
can
want to
give me an hour to plug the rest of our events around the world.
Give you a little more
I'll
time.
give you a couple of seconds. So, in the end of July, we have InfoComm Asia, which takes place in Bangkok. That's, I think, the 4th or 5th edition of that show. It's a really cool show. It's fun to see the sort of the birth of a new event like that. We launched it pre-COVID, didn't hold it for a couple years during the pandemic, and so more or less got relaunched in 2023 or 2. But I look forward to that show. It's a great place to see some of the global economic impact in regards to that region of the world needing desperately a place to connect. From there, in August, I'm at Integrate in Sydney, and that's Australia is a super interesting marketplace. A lot of our manufacturers, I don't know if you guys are do this as well, but a lot of our manufacturers prototype product in Australia, because you get a very sort of Western flavor of the product with a very innovative and independent marketplace. Because somebody said to me once, well, you don't understand. There was bad Australian accent.
I want to hear it.
Like, we can't call the help
close.
desk. The help desk is always closed when we need help. Like, you're all asleep when we're working. So they get it, and so they get to try in a very independent marketplace how this product works. And then from there, India, and that's Mumbai show in mid-September, and then very excited to be going to the first edition of InfoComm America Latina in October. So that's our re-entry to serving the Latin American, Central American community. And that's a community I just feel great indebtedness to. And it's been many years. We left there just before COVID and been waiting anxiously to have an opportunity to get back into there. We have such a passionate audiovisual industry in that region, and it's a joyful show.
Wow. So we've got to find some time for you to rest, sounds like. No rest for the weary. Well, I can't thank you both enough for joining me. There's still so much more time to go check out the show floor and have all those meetings and just really just take it all in. What a wonderful InfoComm this has been. Thank you for everything that you've done. And it's been just such a pleasure to have you guys. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed it. And that's Backstage Pass.